Welcome to all of our impressive agents and investors nationwide. Today is Thursday, February 6th, 2025, and this is All the Leads Mastermind podcast number 514. We're going to start today with a real treat for you. We want to start first and respect his time. I mentioned impressive. I had a conversation recently. I kind of made a commitment this year. I'm going to reach out to every one of our subscribers personally. I had a brief conversation with Travis Wade. And Travis, I'll set the stage and I'll turn it over to you, please. He has about 15 or 20 minutes, and you're really going to want to listen to what he has to say. What impressed me, well, first of all, let me let you know, Travis has been with us for almost 5 years. He gets either 6 or 7, usually 7 counties in Texas. And he has consistently been with us a long time. What impressed me initially was he has a consistent, repeatable system, and he follows it. And then on my subsequent conversation with him, it's easy for me to say, I was impressed with the results he's getting. Travis is an investor and a realtor, although he said he's about 90% investor, 10% agent or realtor. He's got a license. And I will share, and Travis, I think we're going to start, if it's okay, with Joseph. When I spoke to Travis and made an appointment to speak to him the following Monday, he said, I'm going to have Joseph call and confirm the appointment. I said, okay, great. I thought it was a little unusual. Okay, fine. So 3 minutes later, I get a call from Joseph. Hey, this is Joseph with the Travis Wade team. How are you today? I said, great. How are you? Oh, wonderful. Thanks for asking. And he said, I'm just calling to confirm an appointment with you or a member of our team on Monday. And I said, well, we were hoping to speak to Travis. He said, okay, great. I'll pass that information on, make sure he understands that. And I said, well, also, I wanted to confirm with my partner first. And he said, okay, well, let's leave it scheduled for noon. And if you need to change it, just call me back anytime. I said, okay, great. Nice talking to you, Joseph. Have a great day. And he said, you too. Have a blessed day. And then it blew me away when I talked to Travis a few minutes later. Travis, would you start with telling everybody who Joseph is and what he does for you?
How you doing, guys? Travis Wade. I have a company called Property Clinic Real Estate. Joseph is AI. Joseph is not a human. Yeah. So we're still dialing him in, but it's very helpful. He's very helpful scheduling stuff real time on my calendar and doing follow up for me, and it's pretty cool. He calls, texts, and email at the same time, up to about 1,800 people a minute. If you want.
I have to tell you, I was blown away. I thought you were kidding me. I had absolutely no clue because I didn't follow a script. I gave him objections. He handled it. I veered the conversation a little bit and he responded. Very, very impressive. So how did you just found him through his company or his service? And tell me again, you have him doing your lead follow-up? Do you have him prospecting for you also?
Well, Joe, so my business, so your business will talk to you. I have a small business, right? Like most of us. And when it starts bottlenecking, you kind of say, okay, so how do I solve this bottleneck? So I started spending, I don't know, like 8 hours a day, 3 days a week doing follow-up, just sitting at my desk, calling people, texting people, trying to keep up with all these follow-up because I have a follow-up, CRM with a bunch of people. And if you don't follow up in this business, you're not going to it decreases your chance of closing like 80% or something. So I'm like, okay, so how do I free up more time to do other stuff? Because there's other things I need to do in the business too, So I was on Facebook one night and I saw Simpletalk came up and it seemed very lifelike. And long story short, got it, training it. It's doing all my follow-up for me automatically. I just have to monitor it. And one thing I wasn't doing is calling these. I'd send them a text message and I wouldn't hear from them, like maybe 80% of the people. And then I had a cold caller start calling. She starts pulling people that were interested. I've already texted and never responded. So I'm like, okay. So they're answering people that call them. So now Joseph is going to start calling. She's actually calling. So I'm hitting them 4 times. I'm going to call them. Joseph calls them. Cold caller calls them. And I'm texting them. So I'm pulling out each time, each touch, I pull another percentage of leads out of that list. So that's what he does. He does follow up and sets my appointments real time, basically.
And Travis, I correct me if I'm wrong. I think I heard you say in our conversation that if Joseph gets somebody on the phone, he can say, "Hang on a second, let me connect you to Travis. He's standing right here, or he's in the next room," and transfer the call to you. Is that correct?
Yes. So we programmed in. They say, "Hey, is this a bot?" You can either program to say, "No, I'm just the AI assistant." This guy is. We programmed not to admit that he's an AI because some people get turned off. So we just want to say, "Hey, I'm an assistant here to help." It just kind of ignores the question. But if they say, "Can I speak to a real human?" It'll say, "1 second, please," or whatever you want it to say, "Hold, please," or whatever, and then it'll dial me directly. So, or the man speak to a human, "Hold, please," and it'll dial me directly. Just
That
in case
is,
they get frustrated.
yeah, that is awesome. I want to get into your business and how you're pulling as many deals as you are. But before we get to that, does anybody have any? I see all the coaches smiling. So, does anybody have any comments or input on Joseph? Anybody tried anything like that? Raise your hand. I have to tell you, I've never heard anything that fooled me before. I mean, this wasn't even close. It was really, really, really good. And Ron's raising his hand, Tim.
What we got?
Ron, you want to
Guys,
unmute?
have you? Hi there.
Go
How are
ahead.
you? Travis, just a quick question. I've been kind of exploring the same thing. Have you been doing it long enough to see what your hang up level is compared to a normal, when you make the calls yourself?
No, that's one of my downfalls in my business is I'm not very good at KPIs, right? I don't do
Hmm.
many of those, which some would say, well, then how do you know what your business is doing? Well, I know I'm positive. I know, I know that I can buy properties and keep them, and I can pay bills, and um, my KPIs are not dialed in. I don't have that. I can't tell you percentage, but
Okay.
does that answer your question? I'm not quite there yet. That's another bottleneck in my business. I got to solve. I got to solve that problem. I got to put somebody in that seat. I just haven't done it
All of
yet.
us. All of us
Yeah.
need to do that. I'm just curious to see if they think it's a bot that they just hang up versus
Well, it's
ask a
he'll
question.
leave a voicemail as well. So like if he calls and he misses you, he'll leave a voicemail. If he calls and you don't answer, he'll call you back. If you answer and hangs up, I'll get a message with a full transcribed, how you say transcribed conversation of what you said and what he said, and then I can see,
Hmm.
okay, they hung up after he must have paused, and I can see here that I can read them say, "Hello, are you there?" Okay, so something happened with Joseph. I'll call that person back. Say, "Hey, Joseph, what, did something happen?" Like you can see what happened.
Sure.
So you just have to pay
Can you
attention.
put in the chat who you're using for your AI bot?
It's Simple Talk is what it's called.
Simple Talk. Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Simple Talk AI. There's a lot of companies out there. That's just the one I saw. There's quite a few, and they're popping up everywhere because AI is so new, and it's definitely a an avenue of income if somebody has a good bot like this. So they're popping up everywhere. But that's what I use. Simple Talk AI.
Awesome. Travis, and anybody else has any questions about that, I mean, feel free to chime in, anytime. Travis, you were so humble, and I think you said to me in the initial call, "I'm doing okay. I'm not killing it." But your definition of not killing it was very impressive. You I know besides Joseph, you said you have one assistant that handles the properties that you keep and turn into Airbnbs or ABNBs. Airbnbs. See, I don't even know what it's called. And other than that, do you have any other staff or assistants, or is that it? Or are you kind of running the show?
Well, I run most of the hats like most small business owners, but like I had a bottleneck with cold calling, so I hired a cold call person through a friend of a friend. She's actually a U.S. citizen, right? The other person is a VA out of the Philippines, and she pays a lot of the bills for the Airbnbs and gives them the access codes and kind of monitors the conversation on hospitable.com. And then so there's two folks and myself. And when you say, I'm not killing it, I mean, I run in I like to be the smallest fish in the pond. Okay. So my pond consists of very, very large fish. And I like that because they're guides. They've been there, they've done it, uh, and they lend me millions of bucks. So I like being the small guy in the pond. So when I say I'm moderately successful, that's true. I'm moderately successful. I got guys that make millions and millions. They close 100 deals a month. I'm closing like 3, you know? So I'm nowhere near, you know, a lot of the guys I deal with, you
Right.
know?
I think you also shared with me. Lovell's got his hand up. You shared with me that about 10% of them you list, but if you don't list them, you either buy and flip them, you wholesale them, or you turn them into Airbnbs. Correct?
Yeah, you know, like I said, like one of my mentors, you know, wholesaling is looked down upon, but most of the guys that are multimillionaires, you know, they started as wholesalers. So I am a wholesaler who also flips, holds, have Airbnbs and rentals. But I am a wholesaler, number one, just like in the army. You're a soldier first, then you do finance, right? I am a I am a wholesaler who has done it long enough to build the trust of these lenders who then lend me money where I can do some flips, get some bigger checks. Then they say, well, go ahead and hold it for a while, season it, and you can keep it. So I'm being able to hold their money a little longer and refinance them out after 6 months of seasoning. Now I'm trying to grow to other things, get apartments. And hey, can I keep it for 3 years? You know, so I can do the performance and see if I can't make 300 grand flipping an apartment. That's next. You know, so you get just kind of growing into the business and building trust of people that are bigger than you and more successful than you, and proving to them that, you know, you're another source of income for them. I'm not sure if I answered the question or not.
No, I think you did. Thank you. You don't have one solution. You've got multiple solutions for every lead, and that's what I think one of the things that's allowed you to be as successful as you are. Mm-hmm. And remember, you've been doing this for 5 years in 7 counties. So if you do enough volume of leads, you can just pick the big fish to work. You don't need to work them.
We're going to Arkansas. I didn't tell you yet, but we're going to Arkansas next. I got a guy out there. I need to try to get with you on that. We're moving. We're going out of state now.
You will be a whale in Arkansas, I have a feeling.
All right.
So, I'll reach back out to you about that. That's great. And I know you only got about 5 more minutes. Lovell, you had a question.
Yeah, real quick, Travis. First off, congratulations, my friend, on your ability to focus and see problems and see issues and challenges, I should say, but more importantly, opportunities and addressing them. I'm really applauding you. So my question is real specific, and that is, to what degree was the personalization and programming did you have to entail? Were you able to do it, or did you have to source that out to get Joseph programmed for your business? Can you just give me a little bit of insight on that, please?
Yeah. So Simpletalk AI gives you pay quite a bit for a setup. So they set it up, the initial setup, right?
Okay.
Then see if you can picture this. The way they have it is that you can go in and type to Joseph. There's a screen that, like, so if they say what? If they say this, what do you say? So you can type in, if they say real person, transfer them to 512-699, you know, transfer them to Travis, and he'll do it. So they will give you the initial setup. Then you go through and customize what he's saying. So you can change the way he answers. Instead of answering real formal, hey, this is PR real estate. You can say, hey, it's Joseph. How can I help you? You can change. It's fully customizable for
Mm-hmm.
multiple different businesses. It doesn't have to be real estate. It can be anything.
That's exciting. Thank you.
No worries. And it's actually connected to a program called Go High Level. And that's what Joseph is connected to. That's another CRM program that comes free with the software. But I have my own. So they connected me via Zapier. So I filter them through the texting software and I push them over to Joseph after they say they're interested. So Joseph is only contacting warm leads. These are not cold leads. These are warm. People already said, yeah, I'm interested. Joseph will then takes over the follow-up and sets appointments. So
Outstanding.
yeah.
Outstanding. Uh, yeah, I have KV Core. It's company sponsored.
Okay,
So
let me back up because I do too. So this what happens. So I didn't know you had that. So I don't want to. I was trying to put too much information at you guys. So I get Launch Control, which is the texting software. Real quick, I'll just give you a real quick summary. I text people initially. They say, "Hey, I'm interested." I push them over to KV Core. Simpletalk added a bunch of drips to KV Core that will push them over via Zapier to Go High Level, which is where Joseph is. So it's kind of a pass-through system. So it's 3 systems in one. It's kind of complicated, but I can actually cut off the texting software, go straight to Go High Level, and skip KV Core and the texting software. But I'm not that familiar with the system yet, so I haven't done that. And to save myself, $400 or $500 a month. But I use all 3 systems. KV Core is the middleman.
I gotcha.
I'm EXP Realty too, so that you get it for free.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So am I.
Yeah.
Hey, Travis,
Thank you.
I know your time is limited and we can't thank you enough. I did want to make it real clear that you're relatively new with this Joseph and this AI. Prior to that, I mean, how long you been doing that? Just a matter of weeks, I think you said, right? Or a few months?
I'm about a month in.
Okay, so that's not the key to your success. The key to your success prior to this in being able to consistently land three big deals a month, over the years. If you had to attribute that to one thing, what do you think it would be?
Follow up.
Thank you. Yep.
So yeah, that is 90%. And so, some of these, especially with probate, some of these folks I've closed 2 years later, right? I knew their name, I knew their kid's name. When I called them, they answered the phone. Hey, Travis, how you doing? Because I've been following them up every 30 days, right? So follow up is key. If you don't follow up, you can forget about it.
Perfect.
When it comes to probate. Or any lead, really, but probate for sure.
Music to our ears. We couldn't agree with you more, my friend. And I really thank you. You said
one more thing, I'll let
minutes?
you go. One more thing, and I'll let you go. You got to dial in what you're saying to these folks, and you got to be very careful with the frequency that you contact them, because it's a balance. You contact them too much, you piss them off. You contact them not enough, they think of somebody else. So my thing is 30 days to 45 days, if at the beginning of a probate. As they get closer to their court date, 3, 4, 5 months in, then you start closing in on your days of follow-up. So you got to really pay attention to your follow-up. That is key. If you don't do that, you can forget about it.
Perfect. And I don't want to cut you off. Feel free to hang around as long as you want and jump back in. But
if you got any further questions for me, let me know, and I'll jump off. I don't want to cut you guys off either, because if somebody has questions, let me know.
Okay, great. Thank you, Travis. Great information, very inspirational. And the fact that you're doing both as an agent and an investor. Like I said, you're giving yourself every opportunity to be successful, and you're giving them every opportunity to say yes by the consistent follow-up. So thanks a lot for being here, man. Great information. We appreciate you.
Can I ask a question, Jim? Travis, if you got to jump, that's totally fine. But I want to know, you mentioned follow-up, and that is music to my ears. It's not music to very many people, very many agents and investors and wholesalers' ears. But it's music to my ears because it tells me that how much opportunity there is in the probate space. If these were fast transactions, there'd be too much competition. But the fact that a lot of people don't have to sell an inherited property in the first month means there's opportunity. So any idea, sort of an average amount of time that you have to follow up with people before you get your typical deal?
It just depends on the county. Harris County takes forever. I'm starting to learn different attorneys, different courts have different time frames, but on average, 6 to 8 months.
Yep.
6 to 8 months. If somebody's fighting them, could be a year and a half, 2 years. But if you keep up with these folks, they will update you. They'll say, oh, I'm sorry, my sister is fighting. It's just going to be a little bit longer, man. Call me next year. Okay, no problem. Can I call you back in 90 days and see how it's going? Sure. So I set the follow-up, call them back in 90 days, put some notes, make sure I know when I call them, it's like hey, did you ever, how'd it go with your sister? So they know I remember them. So it makes it personal. And then that's how you gain their trust. If they trust you and they like you, they may get more money offered. But hey, I don't trust this guy. We've been talking to you for a year and a half. They sell to you.
Love it.
Yeah, I want to just camp on one thing that you just said. You said straight up, it's different, maybe county to county, it's different attorney to attorney, it's different judge to judge. And that's one of the things that, we always talk about is when you're looking at your leads that you get and you go down and look at them and you look at the attorneys that are assigned and you see, the same attorney handling multiple people, you got to assume that attorney's pretty good at it. But you also need to make sure that attorney isn't just good, but is expeditious. And what I mean by that is you got to learn more than just, yeah, Billy Bob Esquire is handling 7% of the people in my lead list. Is he handling them well? Are there others that do better? You want to recommend, when you get the opportunity to recommend, particularly if you're dealing with pre-probate, you may be in a position of recommending that family law attorney or whatever. You want to get somebody who is going to get to the finish line quicker. That
I do.
typically understands the system in that county and can work well. And you got to continue to do your work to figure out who that is. And that's what you just said you're doing anyway.
Yeah. So over the years of doing it, you have to start acquiring your team. I have actually 3 attorneys I refer people to when they get pissed off. Well, my attorney sucks, man. This guy, I haven't heard from him in 3 weeks. Well, look, I got 3 attorneys that you can use and they may never use them, but you just made yourself look like the expert. Oh, these guys got attorneys too. Yeah. Here's their number. I'll see you their number and emails. Give them a call. Let them know I referred you. Now, man, like this guy, the more you can do that, the more kind of virtual hooks you have into these people. I have moving services too. Oh, really? Yeah. If you need to move out, I got a company I use, man. It's a great company. They're pretty cheap. Tell them I sent you. They'll help you move. Oh, wow, man. This guy got it. What else do you have? Oh, well, hey, whatever you need. I got a doctor to refer you to in San Antonio. I got plenty of those too. So you try to really make yourself the expert and start acquiring your team. I got a title company in every county I'm in. I have a title company I use that I can refer them to. Because people answer questions. Well, I have a question. Well, call Cindy at whatever title and tell them Travis sent you and ask your question. That's a title question, something like that. So you try to be a resource for these folks as well. And that just builds trust. And hey, when they get more offers, because they're going to get way more offers than you're offering, you need to be that guy. So, Travis the guy just seems so established. Let's call this guy. Let's call him back. Just get Travis an opportunity. So I just completely went off track there, but
no, you're right. You're right where you needed to be. I think the other thing that is really, really obvious in listening to you is you just come off as having boundless energy, and having tons and tons of energy. That's what people look for in terms of the person that's going to represent them or they're going to deal with. They want somebody who goes, well, I know all these people. I know all these people. I can do this. I can do that. You got all the answers. You have made yourself the expert. You've made yourself the go-to guy. And it's the fear that if they go with somebody else, that person's not going to have what you have.
Right. And everything's a yes.
You're so compelling, man.
Yeah, there's never no. Everything's yes. I have a mentor that a mentee. He's always calls me. So what do I tell him? Well, tell him yes. Everything's a yes. Because if we can't make it happen, we know somebody else that can't make it happen. So just tell him yeah. Like everything's a yes. Can we move out on the 30th? Yeah, sure. Can we move out in 6 months? Yeah, sure. Everything's yes. That's another thing. Never tell these people no, because somebody else is going to turn around and tell them, yeah, sure.
Yep. Absolutely. No, that's great. Steve, what are you, just say it, man.
Clearly, it's the blue ocean strategy that you have at work, because you're essentially eliminating any competition. It's just you, because you set yourself apart from everybody else. And that's the key. That's what makes you memorable. Bruce always says that, hey, there's things about you that have to make you memorable compared to the other people who are trying to dial in, and all they care about is a transaction of the home, where you're trying to solve their problem and help them find solutions. And that's the key.
Yeah, well, sometimes, right? Because it's a numbers game. Because there's folks out there with their stuff together too, and they're just as well spoken, just as connected, just as experienced as I am. But that really cuts your competition down to a couple of guys, because most don't have their stuff together. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just really appreciate this call. It's a good, thanks for your time today. This has been it's always awesome to see somebody not only who's being successful, but it's obvious why. It's not that you're using some great tech and being innovative and all of that, but throughout the whole time that you're talking, I'm just listening and I'm thinking, if I'm in that situation, is this the guy that I want to do business with? Everything you said made me feel that way. Everything you said.
Well,
you're friendly, knowledgeable. You're the guy.
It's a hustle. I'm not a genius, right? It's a hustle. This is a 24-hour. People call me at 12 o'clock at night. Some of these really old folks, because they have nothing to do. They're retired in their house by themselves. Their wife just died. and they're in the probate process. They call me, hey Travis, got a question for you. It's 11:50 at night. I'm like, yes sir. What you got? You know, so it's just this is like, if you're going to be successful doing probate for sure, or anything in real estate, you got to bring your laptop in the bathroom with you. Yeah, that's funny. I'll let you go. I'll tell your story. My patent title is the title of the company I use in Houston. And there's a lady that when I started 8 years ago, she was just like a regular assistant lady. Now she's the branch manager, and I use them because the customer service is great. And customer service is dead. So when you can find it living and breathing, you stay there, right? So this lady literally will answer my emails at midnight because I'm a nut. I work all the time, and that is the only person that I've ever experienced that will return an email at midnight. And she literally said, yeah, I was in the bathroom. I went ahead and took my laptop. And I was like, really? I was like, you know what? I love you. I'm staying at this title company because you work like I work. And sometimes when you're working, you need somebody to answer a question at midnight when you work like I work. Because the next morning there's a closing and I got a question. They just asked me a question. I need an answer before morning. So I'll let you guys go, but follow up. And if you really want to be successful, this is a full-time job. Not for everybody, because not everybody wants to work like we work.
And
look for
Travis, I
somebody
caught you at the,
look
Go
for
ahead.
somebody that's working out of their outhouse, right?
Say it one more time.
Look for somebody working in the outhouse, right?
Yeah. So if you find somebody in the bathroom with their laptop, that's going to be a successful guy right there.
So is that a leading question? Are you?
Yeah,
It's
right.
echoing a lot. It sounds like it's echoing. Are you in the bathroom?
Yeah. You put a question on your when you hire somebody. So how frequently do you urinate with your laptop? If that answer is no, you're not for us.
There you go.
Travis,
Thanks,
it's been the best call we've had in a long time. I was just going to say, I caught you at the right time too. You were looking for another lead source, and I know you are trying out the late mortgage leads. So I fully expect you're going to have the same success with them that you did with probate, with your attitude, man. But keep us posted, please, and I'll get back with you about Arkansas later on this afternoon.
Sure, no worries. I'll be around.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Bye bye.
Great stuff.
Good deal. Good job. Thanks a bunch. That's a great guy to have on. Hey, Aline, you started off today before we got on, and you had brought something up that you wanted to kick around. I'm going to let you take the reins here for a second. Go ahead.
Yeah. So by the way, when I started in real estate, to escape from my kids, I used to take phone calls in the shower. So I guess there's a trend there, maybe. Fully dressed.
Indeed.
Anyway, so I wanted to speak about probate plus, and it's not a paid advertisement, by the way. It is it's
I think
just
you mean property plus, right?
Property plus. I keep calling it the old name. Yes, property.
That's what we used to call it.
Exactly. We used to call it probate plus, and I'm referring to property plus and the benefits of it. So oftentimes, I will speak to subscribers and they have a beautiful set of leads, and then they'll still spend time scrubbing the leads and dissecting it and trying to figure out everything before calling. Where with Property Plus, you're getting it, and it has so much like chock full of information in front of you, and really has it ready to make calls and have all the details of the property, whether there is a property, whether what the amount or estimated amount is, and what's in equity. And it's really, really beneficial. So when we first started with it many years ago, when it was a beta and I had tried it, I remember picking up the call and making it a few phone calls, and I had somebody, and I literally got a listing appointment immediately because I had the information right at my fingertips. I wasn't able to do any scrubbing or do anything beyond that. And I was able to get to the person's house, and I ended up listing the property. I'm not saying it's a magic formula, but there's definitely so many benefits to having that, especially if you're trying like a different county, a different area where you're maybe not as familiar. It's doing a lot of the legwork for you. So I just wanted to speak into that.
Well, and you're, I mean, talk about what you're doing. You're changing markets.
Yes.
And that, why don't you talk about how you think that, will help you there?
Right. So exactly. So I am changing markets. And for that reason, I thought that the Property Plus would, because I'm obviously not as fluid, not as comfortable with all the areas, the communities, the details of why one property might be a certain amount versus another neighborhood. So it helps me actually learn and see some patterns, and then I can delve into it a little bit more. But it's giving me like a skeleton, right? And I can become more knowledgeable, more of an expert a lot quicker. So I don't have to spend so much time um, doing that extra research.
Sure. And if you want to learn more about that and either adding them to your leads and we're going to talk in a second about another product that we have that, I'm going to let Jim talk about, but, we can talk about Refresh for a second, but, go to Property Plus on the site, go to www.alltheleads.com/property plus, spelled out property plus. It'll give you some information on it from product standpoint. And, we dig in and find everything we can about any property that the person, the decedent's property, but not just in their hometown. We look literally all over the United States to find out if they own property anywhere. And in particularly, if you're in a market where you have a lot of people have vacation homes or snowbirds, or it's a relocation area for retirees, you're going to find people that own property where they did live, and now they're in your marketplace. Vice versa, if you're in a market where people are coming out of to do that, you may miss it because of exactly that reason. They're going away and they pass away not in your market. They still own property where you are. So it's helpful to have that information, and it's also part of our exchange program where, you find if you're in, let's just say you're in LA and, you find that someone passed away in LA and they also own property in Poughkeepsie, New York, and you don't know anybody in Poughkeepsie. We can help you figure that out. And all you do is stay in touch with us and we'll put you in touch with the right person in Poughkeepsie to close the other end of that transaction for you. Hey, Jim, why don't you talk real quickly about the Refresh stuff and see how that applies?
Yeah, if I may, I just one thing I wanted to add before I get to that, Aline. I remember years ago, it was probably way back at the beginning of the company. We had someone who used to, before they made their prospecting calls, if they knew they had a really hot lead, they would Google the property and then they'd call back and say, "Is that the house on the corner with the red roof, or is that the house that's got a big boat in the driveway?" And I remember them saying how stunningly successful that was. They really identified. They felt like they had run by the house before they made the call. So it's kind of along the lines of what you're saying. Get as much detail as possible on the property, and maybe even Google it if you got time, and see what the physical outside looks like if it's not in the comp.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so thank you. Great stuff. Tim, you want me to tell you what we've been doing with the Refresh program?
Yeah, a little bit.
Are we offering it as a product? I wasn't aware.
Yeah, just go ahead and tell people what you've been testing a little bit.
Okay. I have been, like I said, I made a commitment. I'm going to call every one of our customers this year. And I started out with people that have been with us a long time, like Travis, and people that have been with us for years. And one of the most common denominators I heard was, or I noticed, was how many old leads they had that were still in their system. Even after a year or two, if you're doing a great job with lead follow-up and you are archiving leads, there's still a significant percentage of your leads that are in the system. And I'll be very honest with you. I also had people that said, "Well, I haven't called my leads in a year. I need to start doing something." So for both those groups, it occurred to me how great it would be if we could actually go back and somehow filter those leads and tell them which ones were still available and first of all, which ones have property, and out of the ones that have property, which ones still had not been listed or sold. And so we call it Refresh. I think Jody named it. I called it something else to start. And I think we've offered it so far to 6 clients, where we will go into your CRM. You tell us what months. We recommend, if you're going to do it, first go in and make sure you archive the ones that you've eliminated. But for any surviving leads that you haven't eliminated, tell us, I want last January through June, or I want all last year's leads. We'll go in, we'll run 2 searches on them. First, we run a search to see if there's real estate owned. And if so, then we run a second search to see if that real estate has ever been listed or sold. In the last, not ever, but in the last 6 months or a year or whatever the time frame is. And then we give you back in your CRM a new category that says all my leads with property. So, and I hate to quote statistics, but of the people that we've done it, one of the ladies, the lady who had made a call in over a year, she got, after a year, there was something like 18% of her leads were still viable, had property that hadn't been sold. And her third call, she got a listing. And I've gotten really good. I don't know what the exact percentage is, but I think if you go back 6 months, I'm just guessing, it might be 60% or 80% are still viable. The farther back you go, the less that are viable. But we've made it, Tim, and I don't know if you really want to announce the cost or anything. Do you want me to talk about that or not?
The cost is variable based on what we're hunting, but it's a discount. We're doing it at a discount over the regular Property Plus because it's older data. So we already have it. And in general, in a lot of cases, it's people who may have even had Property Plus in the beginning, never did anything with it. It's handy to know 6 months later if anybody's still in the system or who's in the system. So the bigger point that I'm trying to make here is twofold. One of the challenges that we always have dealt with is, do we want to, we refer to it as wake the dead or kick a sleeping dog and wake up a sleeping dog. And that is that we have people that we know that have purchased leads. In some cases, we've got people that have been with us since the very beginning who purchased leads. We never hear from them, but we don't know what's going on with them. So in the beginning, our thought was, well, we're worried enough about trying to keep the churn rate down by continuing to offer services and all that. Obviously, they must be happy. So, we'll not wake them up. We won't try to see if we can't get in the way of getting money. And it's not that we're totally mercenary, but you're just trying to be smart about our business. So we didn't reach out to them. About a year ago, we made the decision that we needed to know what was going on with some of those people, because what ended up happening is we wouldn't hear from them for, months and months and years, and then all of a sudden, they just canceled. We don't know why, we don't know what happened, but we know they were a great customer and they were for a long time. The bottom line here is that everybody that Jim has talked to, in I would say 90% of the time of the folks that he's been talking to, it's mostly the same thing. They really like us. They appreciate what we do. They appreciate the service we offer. They appreciate all the crazy links we go to be the company they want to deal with. And they're embarrassed because they haven't done anything, or they tried a little bit. They failed here, they failed there, and they're going to get around to it, but they just haven't gotten it done yet. So I'm more than happy to wake 90% of the people up. If we can energize them, let them do better. We haven't lost anything by doing that, and we've solidified that relationship. And the beauty of it from our standpoint is what Jim's done is offering them a new way to get after this. And we've added lots of stuff. Most of them don't even know that we have other products. They don't know that, we can recommend them out to appointments today to make phone calls, that all the stuff that we have available, they just don't know about it. So it's been great for us. But the most important thing is that the Property Plus tool that Jim's talking about and that Aline's talked about, it just helps you know more about what you're doing. And we're trying to make it very affordable for you to get that done. So if you want to go back and take a look, you've been with us a while, refresh your leads, go get that done, and let's take a look at them. And you're going to find there's gold buried in there that you're just not aware of. And the beauty of it is nobody's talking to those people. Nobody. 6 months after you first got that lead, you can pretty much count on the fact you're going to be the only person in that game at that point that's going to continue to work with them. Fair enough? Is that right, Jim, would you say?
Yeah, 100%. Whenever, I haven't done it in years because I haven't had time, but whenever I was looking to flip a property, I would go back in my market. I didn't want to compete with our subscribers, so I'd go back 1 to 2 years and work those leads. And I found about 10% of them were still available. And without fail, I'd find one or two that said, yeah, I'm finally ready. But, a year ago, phone was ringing off the hook. I was getting mail. You're the only one that's called me in the last 6 months. So you have zero competition. And even after a year or two, the ones we've done thus far, there seems to be at least somewhere around that 10%, 10 to 15% that are still available. They're not only available, but they have real estate that hasn't been listed or sold. Now, some of them may never sell, but a significant percentage of them want to. And I don't know what that percentage is. We'll get better data as we do this program more and more. But yeah, absolutely. And as far as the sleeping dog, Tim, I've called people that haven't called their leads in 2 years and they still didn't quit. We were afraid that people would quit. And they said, okay, let's do the refresh. And, maybe every year they'll refresh their leads and just call those. But yeah, it was it was a pleasant surprise to us. And I know that the half a dozen people that have done it so far are really happy with it. It's given them a new outlook. It's given them a new perspective. And Saul has a question. Yeah, you want to unmute Saul?
Yeah, I got it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I like the topic you guys are talking about. I have plenty of those that I actually have started reviewing. But how does the conversation go? Like, I've never made contact with some of these people. They either still have the property or the personal representative has put the property in their name. How do I start the conversation if I actually never made contact, only other than mailers?
If I'll tell you what I did, and then I'm sure Bruce will have a comment, but I used to just say, hey, about a year or so ago, I think I may have tried to contact you, wasn't able to get a hold of you, or a year or so ago, I know your phone was probably ringing off the hook at the time. But I noticed that, you still haven't sold that property. Is that something you're looking to do anytime soon? Just be honest with them. You can say you tried to call them even if you didn't, or you can just allude to the fact that, you were probably so busy right then, you were overwhelmed. But, and I used to even say, I find a lot of times after time goes by, people are finally ready. Are you ready yet? Bruce, would you have any different verbiage for that or wording?
Yeah, so I'm generally gonna call and go, hey, calls completely out of the blue. I'm looking for David Smith. David, my name's Bruce Hill. I'm calling about a specific property that I can't really tell what's going on. It seems like it either was or potentially is connected with an estate for Jane Doe. Are you familiar with that property? Do you have involvement with that home? And that's going to be my opening. And then, listen, I'm a buyer, I'm an agent, wherever you want to go from there. But I'm usually going to lean in, kind of playing a little bit dumb. I can't really tell what's going on is the approach that I present. So I don't know if this is right for you, if you're the person I need to talk to, is how I'm presenting myself.
Well, Bruce, that wouldn't work for me, but the dumb approach works well for you, I'm sure. I just thought I'd pretend like I was Tim there for a minute. But yeah, there's no right or wrong way, but just believe me, they won't remember whether they spoke to you or not. And they have no idea who called them a year ago.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that you can just, if you've genuinely never called them before and it's only 6 months, you can just approach it like it's the first time you've ever called, or it's though you just saw it yesterday. It can be the same way that you approach new leads, you can approach somebody.
It's not a brand new skill set. So it's
No.
really just kind of the icebreaker is, hey, guess what? The property's still there. You still own it. That's what I'm trying to get to. I mean, you've got the most salient information that you needed, kind of was that. It's really sort of that, and that'll kind of help you. Saul, you need to raise your hand again, bud. If you'll raise your hand, we'll get to you.
No, I just wanted to say that's valuable information. I appreciate that. This is why I get on this call.
Great, man. Well, we appreciate you, and I know you're diligent. You're here a lot, and we appreciate you being here. And we're always trying to find new ways to make things work. And we don't sit here and try to nickel dime anybody. We're trying to come up with really cool things that are going to help you get value out of what you've already spent because our job here, and tip to the wise, our biggest joy is when you pass every month. And I don't mean that we're, that's all we care about, but we're not trying to, get, a little bit out of your pocket, a little bit more every time we do that. Our whole job is to cut the churn down. The longer you stick around, the longer you're happy, the longer you're being successful. The only reason that we have people that are with us for the most part that have been with us a really long time is just like the first fellow that we started with. They're making money. They're doing well, they're being successful. And that's really the value of all this. We're trying really, really hard to make sure anything that we do is going to help you grow and continue to stick around. And that way, when we create new product and we create new things that are going to help it grow, we've got a wonderful audience there that loves what we do. And we work real hard to be aware of that and keep track of it.
Thank you, everyone.
You bet. Anybody else have particular questions about anything that we've talked about so far? We've got about 10 minutes left on the call, and it's always good to kind of keep these. The good part about the way we're doing it this time, when we have particular things that we talk about, it keeps it kind of in a package. You guys can remember, oh, well, on that call, they talked about these things, and a lot of calls were kind of all over the place. This one has been pretty focused on a couple of great topics, and I think that's cool. You can also count on the fact that we're going to be looking at some of these AI tools that are out there and all that. Matt, if you're ready, I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions, and I want to just kind of kick around one thing with you in particular.
Sure.
I was going to ask you, have there been any changes in regard to implementation and things like that regarding some of the stuff that you've been working on and TCPA laws and things?
No, so, I mean, the big thing with the TCPA is they put it on hold for a year. I saw somewhere that they're actually fighting it right now in court and they're trying to just overturn the whole thing. So that would be awesome. I might be a little biased, but it'd be nice to not have to worry about one-to-one consent. And then, yeah, I mean, as far as, daily workflow, right now, we're almost done. We're putting like the last touches on our pre-probate video for retargeting. And then the next one that I'm going to make, because, listening to the gentleman that came on a little bit earlier about, having the ability for nurtures and follow-ups, I'm thinking about creating like a nurture follow-up video and or sequence so that, when we're retargeting them, they can see that video after so many months that a lead is a nurture. So it'll be a little bit of extra work for my media buyer, but that's okay. I'm excited to get those uploaded because it'll just constantly stay in front of them so that the conversation stays open and we make sure that the leads that we set up don't go uncalled or untouched.
Okay, well, I want to revisit that maybe in a bit more depth next week. And please don't take what Matt said as don't worry about the law. That's not the point. The issue is that it's an ever-changing scenario, and Matt's staying on top of it. And we're going to keep you up to date. Right now, do what you should be doing. Take care of yourself correctly. Sheila, I saw your hand up. We'll get to you in 1 second. John, you typed something into the chat rather than sit there and read it. I'm going to ask you to say that if you will. Be glad to talk about it. And everybody who's on the call won't get it if you don't say it, because some of them are on the it's being live streamed. So we got about half as many people that won't see it as will. So say it again, please, sir.
Sure, I can read it off too a bit if it'd be easier. So
Okay.
I basically have a scenario with a 100-year-old mom who has one son and two daughters. The son, who's 70-year-old, he passed away, and so one of the other daughters went to the home, gathered about 80% of the personal belongings and collections and watches, and actually grabbed one of his car and headed back to a different state. The daughter did some paperwork with an attorney, and we don't know what that paperwork is, and it was not shared with the other daughter. And we're looking for a way of getting a solution to the situation so the other daughter can be informed and we can get everything. Like, communication is the number one thing in all these scenarios. So we just want to make sure that communication is open, but it doesn't seem to be in this one. So we want to see what else we can do.
But you left one. Did you? And I was trying to remember. Did you say it's in a trust?
So the house is in an older trust back in the start of the 2000s, and the son who's passed away, the husband who has passed away, and the mom were all on the trust.
What about the daughters?
They were not on it.
Interesting. That's an interesting trust. Are they all his direct descendants, or is it a mixed family?
Direct.
Interesting. It is in a trust, and you're saying the trust is putting it on the market?
Yeah, they're actually going to be listing the property next week. Yes.
Who is administering the trust?
That's what we don't know.
Well, somebody has to put it on the market.
Well, it's so the one daughter is taking care of all that. So she's apparently administering it, but she's also the one will not share that documentation with her sister.
And does the other sister have an attorney?
No.
What state are you in?
Illinois?
Interesting. I mean, you obviously you gotta get some legal advice here for sure. We're not about to give you the legal advice here, but it sounds like that you're stuck in a situation where somebody is going to have to do some discovery to get some answers, and the only way to compel that's through an attorney doing that. And if it's going on the market, if the title company that is got to certify the transaction if it goes on the market, somebody's done some work to get it to this point. That's kind of the point. I fear you're missing some detail somewhere that somebody's not telling you. And the only way to do that is to compel it through some sort of discovery from a legal standpoint. Anybody else chime in, but to me, I'd say your best angle is to tell the sister who's on the outside looking in, get an attorney as quick as you can and stop the transaction until she gets the answers.
Well, I don't know. And John, please forgive me. I know you repeated most of that story twice. There's parts of it that you might have to repeat again. So you're in communication with the sister that's on the outside looking in, correct? Or the sister that's pushing the listing forward. Which one are you?
Well, I'm actually in communication with both, but more with the sisters that is on the outside.
Okay. So I actually don't think that this is wildly infrequent. There's lots of families that set up trusts, and there's a black sheep that gets cut out or a significantly reduced role. They may be a beneficiary in the trust. They might not. They're not given signing authority, though. If you're heavily in communication with the sister that's on the outside looking in, um, the sister, the family members that are selling, they don't have to include her at all.
Bruce, I think the other sister is also not on the trust.
They're both.
Well, the other sister that's not on the trust, if she's not trustee, she has absolutely zero authority to list the house. The trustee has the authority.
That was my point.
Yeah.
And what I think happened with that is I think that other sister met with some attorneys and possibly made herself a trustee so she could do what she needs to do.
Oh.
And there's a significant amount of money from the son that was pushed up towards the mom, which is 100 years old, which if that ends up in a trust, that'll all go back to that one sister and the other sister will not get anything, is my thought.
Mm-hmm. And
They may have declared their mother. She may have gotten something to declare her mother incapable of handling it. That's why she's doing it. All I'm saying is you don't know. You just don't know the answer. And you're going to have to get that answer, and you can't get it. There's nobody that you can demand it of, and you're not getting the answers out of the sister that's on the inside, and the one on the outside doesn't have a clue. Get the one on the outside to get an attorney and get after it.
Well,
Okay.
so I heard that the listing's going up with you as the agent?
No, it is not.
Okay, got it. Well, there you go. All right, that's accurate. So whoever that listing agent is needs to verify all documents. So you're in the loop because the sisters that aren't so happy about this, or the sister that is happy about it, is asking you for your advice on how to stop this.
Yes, yes.
Okay, got it. Yeah, she's gonna have to challenge. I don't think she's got a challenge, but I'm not a lawyer. Okay,
I don't either.
all right. I don't think she has
done.
any challenge. If she's cut out of the trust, she's out of the trust. If she has no signing authority for the trust, she has no signing authority. She's grasping at straws because she's not happy. And I've personally seen this many times where a family member isn't happy about their take. And sometimes they're cut out for good reason. Sometimes they're cut out for a bad reason. It's kind of interesting to see when they're cut out for a very good reason. I've seen that many times, and they're the ones that scream the loudest and try to stomp the hardest when they were a very evil person to the family members and they got cut out.
Yep. I think the only other point that I would make, Bruce, is that her action may be because it sounds like it's her and the other sister that are existing in this deal. May end up having to sue the other sister.
Yeah. Now,
you just don't know.
What I would do with this is I would, with no expectation that you're going to have any involvement in this deal, I would use this as my excuse to make a new connection with the trust attorney. So use this as a leverage to find a new attorney to build a relationship with. Probably isn't going to amount to anything at all with this particular deal. It might, but probably isn't. But you've got an excuse to kind of make an attorney call you back and have a conversation. And if you leverage that conversation well, you've got a new referral partner.
Gotcha.
Point, Bubba. Sheila, I appreciate you waiting long enough. It's your turn. Go ahead.
I'm going to make it quick because it is 2:00. Basically, it's going back to the 6-month and older leads. I had a lead that I contacted in November. The probate was started in April. That's when we got the lead. She was a trust for a friend of, it was her friend's house who passed away. The 2 daughters didn't want the house. She just wanted to be rid of it and be done with it. And this was November. We closed on that house January 31st. So it doesn't have to be long and drawn out unless you make it long and drawn out, but definitely work those older leads. That there is gold in the old, as Matt said earlier.
There's gold in the old. I did love that. Y'all in the chat, Matt typed in, there's gold in the old. And that's very, very true. Very true. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, guys, it's been another, as we always say, it's been another interesting week. Really, really great conversations. And one other thing I'll just share in regard to the last thing in regard to the trust. Dave Gwynn asked a really good question. Have you seen a copy of the trust? If you haven't, and you can get your hands on it, probably be really good if you get your hands on the trust to take a look. If somebody can make it available to you, the attorney can compel it, but you can maybe ask. And the other thing I'd say that, I'll just kind of throw this out. You never want to start off by, who can I sue to make this happen? I don't want you to think that's our go-to approach. And that kind of sounded like that. It's just that there's so many unknowns in this one that the only way to get the answers, particularly if it's time is of the essence, you got a ticking time bomb there. It's getting ready to go on the market. You're going to have to put a stop to it. If it gets on the market and it's a clean title and somebody's willing to insure it, you're out in the cold, period. Nobody's going to get anything other than the listing agent and whoever's on the trust. So, there's just too many unanswered questions. Typically, I'm always saying, don't get an attorney, sit around and see if you can get this mediated without it, because you're just going to spend money otherwise. But in this case, I don't think you have a choice. With that, James, I will say, it is your turn, buddy. Send them home.
Yes, sir. Before I send y'all home, by the way, the refresh program, Jody, our data genius, his original name was Old to Gold, but then we decided refresh was more descriptive. I do see several questions here about who do they contact for refresh. Do you want them to customer support, or do you want them to come directly to me?
Jim, I got one that I said you would call them back, and if anybody else wants anything, just contact customer support and say you're interested in refresh, and we'll get out to you, period. Do that. Just
Perfect.
call
All
our
right.
number and ask for support, and off we go.
Sounds good. Well, I want a great call. I think Travis is long gone. He's probably taken 2 listings since he left 40 minutes ago. But very inspirational. I thought he would be, and he did a great job. It's sincere, right to the point, and really, really good information. So I want each of you, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here, particularly thank Travis, Aline, Saul, Bruce, Tim, Steve, Matt, Sheila, and John for actively participating. I want to challenge each of you, take one idea that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.
Bye, everybody.